Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Subscribe to that as well.
And check out deck.com/ham. Deck makes organizing, accessing, protecting, and securing everything you need so much easier. Look at this, John.
Deck.com/ham for our grinders out there and our tailgaters. Can make tailgating easy. Deck.com/ham. Free shipping. Check it out.
PFF put this list out over the weekend. The best offensive play callers. The best offensive play callers. Here's their list. Number 1, Matt LaFleur. Number 2, Brian Daboll. Number 3, Andy Reid. Number 4, John Gruden. Number 5, Joe Brady. Number 6, Byron Leftwich. When you sent me this list, my first reaction was, there are guys that belong on this list, but you could legitimately argue 5 of them belong on the list. Like that 5 of them don't belong on the list, other than Andy.
If I called every general manager, including Rodgers' best friend Gutekunst, how many of them would list LaFleur over Andy Reid?
Well,
would there be one?
If we just polled all the offensive coordinators in the league, would Andy be the only guy that would every guy say Andy?
I mean,
if you asked every play caller, so you asked 31 other offensive coordinators / head coaches, make your list. Would every single one of them put Andy Reid in their top 6?
I mean, how would he end up on a list any lower than 2 on any human's list?
He wouldn't end up behind Brian Daboll. You know what wouldn't shock me? Honestly, if it was a coach, I wouldn't shock me if Gruden was on some people's list. Like,
yeah, their offense has been fine.
He gets it, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's not just like I think current coaches probably McVay, those types of guys, right? Don't look at their offense today so much as they just think John Gruden, 20 years. They think he's a really good play caller. I think he gets that.
I'd argue it's more impressive what Gruden has done with Derek Waller and Ben Aguilar than anything you fucking did with Aaron Rodgers. He had multiple MVPs and a walk into Canton's Hall of Fame career before you showed up. So, like, listen, it's hard to coach Michael Jordan, but Phil, like, influenced Michael's career, right? Like, now your offense is important, and I give you credit. I actually like Matt LaFleur. I think he's a good coach. But I under no circumstances, as a play caller, like I would not put him above either of his 2 guys. Like, to me, he's in the crew of Kyle and McVay. To not have Kyle and McVay on your list, to me, is insane. But to not have Sean Payton on the list is even crazier. Like, if you talked about Pold and Andy, Sean Payton would come up with every single person. To me, Sean Payton and Andy have to be 1 and 2 in some order. And to me, I'd have Kyle 3. Because I was thinking about this. If we did a quarterback draft, a coach draft from scratch, I think there would be some GMs. Like, in some offices, Andy might go first because, like, I see Bill now in quarterback roulette. Like, I've seen Andy in quarterback roulette. He goes to playoffs. Like, I've seen him go to the playoffs like 7 different quarterbacks. Like Bill, and I think Bill's the greatest coach of all time. But these next couple years are going to just define, like, could just make him like another level elite. But right now, like, I know if Andy has to work with, Russell Wilson or Josh Allen, like, he can coach any type player. Kirk Cousins, he'd be able to figure it out. Like, we're going to find out with the Patriots, but it doesn't even matter. They're not even on the list. But my point is, like, Sean Payton, same thing. I shook my head at the list.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, if we're going to give, Joe Brady, first of all,
would you put Andy number 1 on the list?
Yeah, to me, Andy or Sean Payton. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
The thing with Sean, I mean, honestly,
I wouldn't shock me so much longer than Kyle.
It would not. It wouldn't shock me if after this year you would put McVay. I think McVay is going to come out swinging this year, doing things he could not do last year and hasn't been able to do. It wouldn't shock me if you redid this last year if McVay was number 1. I'd probably put Andy number 1, even though, sometimes you could argue it gets a little pass happy. But I love him. I know you love him. But, like, if you're going to give Joe Brady, first of all, I'm not Joe Brady LSU. Like, that's not part of this conversation to me. So, okay.
It doesn't count.
So, didn't have McCaffrey, had Teddy. It was fine with Teddy. I got to give Shanahan credit for quarterback musical chairs, and they were just kind of in the mix in games they had no business being in the mix in with some of the guys they had at quarterback. The John Wolford thing for McVay, I think, is a McVay flex. And again, McVay and Shanahan's best qualities are not last year. And I thought in some ways you could point, if we're going to point to Teddy Bridgewater for Joe Brady, then we got to point to last year for those guys.
Well, I got a name for you, and he's a polarizing name with the individual fan base because when you have him, you're like, can you expand the offense? But in no world could you put Joe Brady, if you're basing it on the NFL, ahead of Greg Roman. Greg Roman, I've seen him now, multiple quarterbacks have dynamic playoff-level offenses. Say what you want. Lamar Jackson, I don't know, won the fucking MVP, and last year, like the second half of the season, they started dominating again. Would anyone in the league now? His offense, I understand. Like I'm not even all. I don't even. I'm more pass happy than I am run happy. But Lamar's their quarterback. He's tailored an offense that, I mean, is pretty damn good. If I'm Greg Roman, like, wait, you put Joe Brady out of me?
He's done it multiple times at multiple stops.
Yeah, Joe Brady. Where do they draft? How many games they win last year? How many touchdowns they throw up? What are we talking about here? Like LaFleur, you're really just nitpicking. Is it, the chicken or the egg? Is it Rodgers or him?
Yeah, but with that, you would argue Aaron got better once he bought in, right?
Yeah. I give LaFleur credit.
Yeah, he gets credit.
Would any general manager take LaFleur? And it might not even be proven right. Like maybe LaFleur goes on to have this career. His winning percentage is really high. Do you think people would choose him over Kyle or McVay?
It wouldn't shock me if some people did, but I think he would finish third. And if everybody got votes, I think he'd finish third. It wouldn't shock me though. It would not shock me.
And I'm not people.
He has dominated
those two guys. Yeah. Well, Rodgers dominated this year.
Well, but I'm just saying he has been the head coach of a team for 2 years, and they have what have they won? 26 regular season games in 2 years.
If Rodgers got traded and he went like 10-7 with Jordan Love, I'd be like, yeah, he's got to be on the list.
Here's the other one. How about Stefanski?
In no world could you put Joe Brady ahead of Stefanski. Remember how good the Minnesota offense was 2 years ago, and then the Baker. Yeah, I forgot about Stefanski. I kept thinking like, who are some other?
You always disrespect the Browns on this show, but we got to give Stefanski his credit. So
yeah, I like Stefanski.
I think. I mean, to the point. Oops, I made this thing way too big. I think I'd even have Stefanski might be in my 6. Shanahan, McVay, Peyton, Reed, Stefanski. That's 5. Am I missing somebody?
Greg Roman's been doing it a little while.
Yeah, Roman. I mean, Byron, it's hard because it's Arians and it's Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't bring up Josh McDaniel either, which, again, we'll see this year if Cam's – like, Josh McDaniel could have a kind of a flex year this year with Cam if Cam's healthy.
Well, if Arians was still, quote-unquote, calling the plays, he would 100% be on this list, right?
He would. So I think we got to give Byron so I think by that token, like, you got to give Byron Leftwich his credit if you'd be giving Arians credit, right?
Did 33 picks 2 years ago.
Jameis?
Yeah. That's on his watch.
Yeah, but he threw all those didn't he lead the league in touchdowns?
No,
just in picks?
He led the league in yards.
Oh, see? We had to play a certain way, John. I can't go out there and throw the ball for him. How about Daboll? Yeah, would you have Daboll on the list?
I think he's proven to be pretty good. I think he's, competing for a top 10. I don't know if he's top 6. He's good. I mean, their offense was fantastic. And I do give you credit, non-head coach, right? Like, if you're Andy or Sean Payton, like, you're just the head coach, like, you're good, right? You're making $12 million. Everyone knows you're good. When you're the coordinator, like D'Amico, on the opposite side of the ball, on a team where the head coach is on the other side, right? Brian Daboll runs the offense. It's not like, well, maybe Sean McDermott. No, Sean McDermott's the defensive coach. That's impressive. It's always why Bruce Arians, like, wherever he went, they scored points because it was Mike Tomlin. He was always Chuck Pagano working for defensive head coaches. It was his baby. You're like, that guy's fucking good. So Brian Daboll, I watched him this year. They were throwing up points big time.
And I'm not saying Arthur Smith should be on the list, but if Joe Brady's on the list, shouldn't you have to consider Arthur Smith?
To put Joe Brady on the list, again, like him, follow him on Twitter. I saw he just got engaged. She looks like a beautiful woman. I'm rooting for Joe Brady. I think he's a cool guy. I like his energy. I'm a Joe Brady fan, basically just based on LSU. In no world could you consider him a top 20 NFL offensive coordinator, I would say right now.
Top 20. And he could take a huge leap with Sam Darnold if that works.
I'm betting on him. I'll bet on him. But based on the 1 year, no, we got a slower roll there.
Salem
PFF.
on YouTube says Kyle is number 1 or 2. The whole league is following his lead. Kings of Kings says Middlecoff can't wait to crap on Gruden.
I gave Gruden credit. I said he'd be in the list.
Ray says Niners Saints game from a couple years ago alone puts Kyle and Sean in the top 3.